everyone, Dawn Epting here, and thank you as always for watching. I wanted to come and share from the topic, use your voice unapologetically. Use your voice unapologetically. Thank you, whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's social media or YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell underneath this video to receive notifications for future videos. So I want to get right into it. Using your voice apologetically. When I talk about it in this video, I'm talking about it in the context of one-on-one relationships where there may have been some abuse perhaps, or overstepping authority on someone else's part. Often we feel like we don't want to use our voice. And there are reasons for that. I've written down some notes here, and we're going to get into the reasons that we feel like we can't use our voice and why it's necessary. Why your calling, the purpose on your life, it's necessary for you to use your voice. So I have a quote written down here. It says, "Give voice to what you know to be true, and do not be afraid of being disliked or exiled." Always give voice to what you know to be true, and do not be afraid of being disliked or exiled. And that quote is by Eve Ensler. So number one, often we fear being disliked. That is the number one reason that we do not use our voice. But we must remember, our job is not to compromise who we are. Our job, and I've underlined compromise, our job is not to compromise who we are in order to convince others to like us. Sometimes we contort who we are back and forth, our values, what we believe for one person, then another person, to the point that we no longer even recognize who we are. Have you ever been in a situation or a relationship and it's gone on for some time, and you start to say, this is not me. I can't believe that I'm doing this. I can't believe that I've done this. I can't believe that I've allowed myself to be dragged down this low. It could be in a romantic relationship. It could be on a job. It could be in a number of situations. So often we try to compromise who we are in order to get other people to like us. And I've written here, when we compromise, often we no longer recognize who we are. Our values, I've written here, I thought of this, our values must find expression not only in our actions, what we do, but in our words. Often, we express our values in our work or some of the things that we do in life, maybe in parenting or a number of different arenas in life. But our values often also need to find expression in our words. And we have values. Everyone has values. You could define them, it's subjective whether you believe they're good, they're bad, right, wrong. But we have values. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm speaking in the context of relationships where there's been overreaching authority or maybe even abusive situations. I'm not speaking in the context of, political arena or necessarily religion or anything of that nature. I mean in terms of the need to protect our peace, the need to express who we are, the desire to fully express who we are when other people are allowed to express who they are, but we feel like we can't express, what we value, what we feel. So everyone is responsible for their own thoughts and feelings. Everyone is responsible for their own thoughts and feelings. When you express your values, when you voice, your what you know to be true, you're not responsible for what other people may think or feel. Especially if, and I'll get to this in a moment, you're speaking the truth in love. That's found in Ephesians 4:15 in the scripture. You're not responsible for it when you give voice to what you know to be true. Your thoughts, your feelings are what create the reality or the manifestations that you see. Not being concerned about expressing your truth and other people, thinking a certain way about you, or thinking poorly of you, or feeling a certain type of way. Often we assign value to people based on their thoughts and feelings. Often we assign value to people and their opinions. We assign value to people and their opinions. And often we believe that if we're feeling like someone may not approve of something that we do, that we've done something wrong, and that's not the case. Everything in life is neutral. We assign value to people. We value that, we want this person to think more highly, this certain person to think more highly of us, or we want, them to feel a certain way about us. Even if they don't, that has no bearing on the purpose and plan for your life. We assign value to things. It's nothing has inherent, people's opinions, people's beliefs, people's thoughts do not have any high inherent value. It's the value that we assign to it. So we're to speak the truth. When I say speaking the truth, I want to say in love. I should have underlined that. In love. In love. It's not with malice or ill intent. It's in love. And then we leave the consequences to the divine. We leave them, alone. Once we know that we've expressed what we know to be true and what we know to be right. It's just not healthy to bottle things inside. We have to, as they say, feel it to heal it. We have to express it also often to heal it. So we have to express ourselves, or else, we can bottle them up and they can cause other issues in our lives, whether, in our physical body or in our emotions. So we can't be afraid to use our voice. Number 2, I've written here, we fear being alienated or rejected. I think that's the biggest thing. We fear being alienated or rejected. Being your authentic self, and I've written here, authentic self meaning the values that you have, who you were created to be, who you were placed here to be, to fulfill a certain plan and purpose that only you can fulfill, may result in strained or terminated relationships. But we can't be afraid to lose those. If we lose those relationships, they were never meant to be to begin with. They were out of alignment to begin with. People that value you, and I think I've written that next, true friends and loved ones will value you and what you have to say. Now, there may be a temporary, processing of what you said by loved ones or friends, but they won't leave your life or cause conflict because you're expressing yourself. So I've written here, there have been scientific studies that show that rejection, social rejection in particular, but I think this is applicable to any type of rejection. Rejection, being excluded or turned down, activates similar areas of the brain as physical pain. I think that's why we really, really try to avoid rejection at all costs. We avoid being rejected at all costs because being excluded or turned down is what these scientific studies talked about specifically. So being excluded, being turned down, activates similar parts of the brain as physical pain. How often have you been in a situation where you've been excluded or felt like you've been excluded? And it's painful. It hurts. You'll hear people say, I was hurt. You hurt my feelings. It hurt. And so often we will not voice what we know to be true. We will compromise our values. We will go along with things, even in our actions at times, because we don't want to be rejected and feel the physical pain. I mean, the mental pain, because that mental or emotional pain activates areas of the brain similar to physical pain. So that's why we often avoid rejection. We do not want to experience those uncomfortable feelings or painful feelings. So I have a theory that I've written theory here. In prehistoric times, I've always said this, I believe that being excluded from the group was a matter of survival. I think that that's why also it's so painful when we feel excluded. So we suppress who we are, we suppress our feelings, we suppress our voice, because in prehistoric times, there's an area of our brains that realizes that we still that still functions. In those times, being excluded from the group could mean death, essentially. Could mean that you were not going to survive. So often we still operate in this way, that we don't want to be excluded because it feels like it's a matter of survival. It really does. It feels like death sometimes. It feels like, have you ever been in a relationship and it terminated? And it literally felt like you were experiencing a death. In a sense, maybe, you could look at it that way. It was the death of a relationship, but being included within the group was a matter of survival in prehistoric times. And I believe that that's sometimes, that area of our brain, it activates that area of our brain. That's why we fear rejection and often we don't express ourselves. So I wrote here, as you pursue your purpose, your tribe will find you. We don't have to fear being rejected if we express ourselves, because ultimately, as you operate in the purpose and plan for your life, and that's another video, I guess, for another day, finding your purpose if you don't realize what it is. As you operate in your purpose, the people, your circle, the things that are meant to be in your life will find you. They will align. So you don't have to be afraid of being rejected or losing people as you express your true and authentic self. And finally, number 3 I've written here, we don't realize that one of the most important relationships we can cultivate or have is with ourselves. We don't realize that one of the most important relationships that we can cultivate or have is with ourselves. That's why we don't use our voices. We're often trained away from this in an early age. We're trained to believe that, taking care of ourselves, self-care is a popular topic right now, but taking care of ourselves and focusing on who we are, trying to learn who we are, is selfish. So some of us may still carry that belief with us. But we have to cultivate the highest, we have to express ourselves, we have to use our voice, and realize that one of the most important relationships that we can cultivate, of course, outside of with the divine, is with ourselves. You also matter. I've written down here, you also matter. You also matter. I don't think we hear that enough. So often when there is a fractured relationship or area of our lives, we ponder and go through all the scenarios of what could I have done differently. You also matter. You also matter. How were my actions directed to or conducive towards me being fulfilled and exercising self-care in my own life? How are my actions towards that other person conducive towards me being fulfilled and exercising self-care in my life? So finally, I will end with this quote, and it's from Joseph Murphy from his book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. He says, "You are here to fulfill your ideal and remain true to the eternal verities or beliefs and spiritual values of life, which are eternal. You are here to fulfill your ideals, and remain true to the eternal verities and spiritual values of life, which are eternal. Ultimately, you're here to remain true to you, your eternal purpose. Thank you so much for watching. Look below this video and see how you can become involved or partake or become a part of my Passion and Purpose course. In that course, I give a lot of information about how to start a nonprofit, grant writing basic, how to find grants, and as well as how to overcome limiting beliefs. We could go really deep into that. Feel free to comment below about some ways that you've used your voice unapologetically, and look below to see how you can get involved in what we're doing. Feel free to also contact me for a one-on-one coaching session. Until next time, take care.